Tom! Is there any remorse within your heart for those people you've dealt in the past? Those who came across your path, their life they've lost. Sure. And you replied, say, circumstances made me what I am. Was I born a violent man? Circumstances made me what I am. Everyone should understand.
Hi, this is Ryan at
Circumstances
Clovis Star
made
News.
me
It's
what
October
I
18th,
am. Was
2016.
I born
A
a
lot has came out
violent
from these
man?
Podesta emails that Wikileaks have released.
Circumstances made me
The
what I
Ecuadorian
am.
government recently cut off Julian Assange's internet in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. This happened yesterday, or no, I'm sorry, this happened on Sunday. And it was confirmed through multiple sources, and WikiLeaks also revealed this on their Twitter feed. But a few things that I wanted to mention. Um,
Also interesting.
oh, that the mainstream media are clearly tied to disinformation, whether it be the CIA or the FBI, both of these agencies all throughout history, all the way back to 1951 officially, and way before that, even in the Marcus Garvey days of the 1930s, you'll see that they had counterintelpro or counterintelligence programs that they used disinformation via the mainstream media and other news sources and other, you know, internal sources in organizations. Like in the Marcus Garvey organization, they used a man named Edward Boulin, who was supposed to be Marcus Garvey's best friend, and owned a business in the area of I believe Brooklyn, and he was associated with Marcus Garvey, but he was also a FBI agent that reported to the FBI on Marcus Garvey's situations, conditions, and activism. Fast forward this to 1951, during some of these anti-war and you know, or at least government protesters that they used terms such as communist and conspiracy theorist. Both words were used, hundreds of thousands of times in documents in releases of CIA documents and FBI documents, via the Freedom of Information Act, that these words were used to alienate and give disinformation on people and make them disenfranchised from their peers. So they would say, oh, this person's a conspiracy theorist, this person's a communist, to separate their support from different activists and activist groups, especially anti-war groups in the 60s. Look it up, counterintelligence programs, CIA. That's a known agency in the CIA. It's been around since 1951 as an established agency, but long before that, the FBI had started the same programs. Back in the late 20s and early 30s, they started that with Marcus Garvey. Anyway, back to the WikiLeaks and John Podesta leaks that WikiLeaks has introduced or has released recently. There is a lot of information about how the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, has committed voter fraud, has spoke about voter fraud, and has organized ways to commit voter fraud. And it's very well documented in these John Podesta emails that WikiLeaks has released. And another aspect of this is Hilary Clinton's emails, which she said they had no idea or no information or no uh, knowledge that any of her servers had been hacked. She's like, yeah, I did have classified information, but there's no evidence that my servers were hacked. Well, if WikiLeaks has all of these emails that Hillary Clinton scrubbed off her servers using BitBleach, well, if WikiLeaks has them, well, clearly her servers had been hacked, and massive amounts of classified information is out there in the world, possibly during the times in which our country was at a serious conflict point with maybe Libya or Afghanistan or Syria. And so our enemies very likely had, our so-called enemies, let's call them, so probably had the information that was on Hillary Clinton's server. Because if WikiLeaks has them, it's very likely other people had them too. And you can find that. I'll put the links on the video. And according to U.S. law, copyright laws, the information I'm about to give you is used via fair use. So in U.S. copyright law, you can find fair use guidelines. And you can read more about it even at Wikipedia under fair use. This is the link right there. I'll post this in the description of the video. Section 17 of the USC, Section 107. Let me just post this for you because I'm not legal fluent as far as U.S. codes go, but as far as U.S. code is concerned, it's legal to release this for informational purposes. The reason why I don't monetize my videos, via YouTube's monetization program is because I use these, videos for informational purposes, for education. I don't use them to self-aggrandize, to promote, or make money with, or commercialize anything. These are for informational purposes. I do this as a service, not as a job, so I'm not making any money off of this. Anyway, that's just for the legalese of things. I don't want this to be misconstrued in any way. YouTube has some pretty interesting guidelines on what they do with media. And so in order to avoid that, ever since 2007, all the way back to 2007, I've been making videos with YouTube. I've never monetized any of my videos. Never. If you want to give me a tip, for my media, that's different. It's not a commercial thing, but it's a donation thing. You can go to patreon.com/Clovis Tribe, and I'll put that link on the video as well. It's also in the description. Now, what's to follow is evidence of what Donald Trump is saying, that there is voter fraud. And, the people on CNN have disputed it, although I'm going to give you a CNN video from 8 years ago that they proved there was voter fraud back in 2008 on one of their series about ACORN, the group ACORN, the voter registration program that they were doing. ACORN actually was accused and proven of voter fraud back in 2008, and CNN covered that. And then there's a whole bunch of other evidence that computer programs that are in the voter machines and the Diebold voting machines are easily hacked. It takes all of about 10 seconds to insert a virus into a voting machine to change the results to whatever favored results you want. It's been proven on multiple different tests and trials that they've done on the news and on other scientific studies that, yes, these Diebold machines have been hacked. They're easily hacked. It takes all of about 10 seconds to hack one of them, and they show how to do it, and they show that it's easily done. So when Obama and CNN and Hilary Clinton's campaigns say there's no evidence for what Donald Trump is saying, I disagree. I've said since July of 2015 that Hillary Clinton would be the president, the next president of the United States, not because she has the popular vote, not because she isn't guilty of, revealing classified information or storing classified information, not because of any of this. It's because she is an heir to the throne. This is a monarchy. Hillary Clinton is next in line. She's a part of the bloodline. She's Bill Clinton's cousin. I'll also post a video, or at least a link to the video, that proves this through a genealogical research that a 12-year-old girl did. Her and her grandfather looked up the lineage of all of the U.S. presidents through the maternal bloodline and found that 43 of 44 presidents are all related directly to King John Lackland, the 12th century king of England that signed the Magna Carta. And anyway, it's very provable, very easy to make the case for this. But the voter fraud thing is also very easy. And like I said, this is all protected by fair use laws and U.S. copyright law. And I'm going to go ahead and just let you watch. So I'll also upload these separately to multiple different channels that I have, just so that these videos are preserved in case YouTube or anybody else tries to take them down. Like I said, these are protected. None of this is monetized. This is not for commercial usage. This is for informational purposes only. Check us out at clovisstar.com. You can also check us out at www.clovistribe.com.
Because democracy, by definition, works by consent, not by force. I have never seen in my lifetime or in modern political history any presidential candidate trying to discredit the elections and the election process before votes have even taken place. It's unprecedented. It happens to be based on no facts. every expert, regardless of political party, regardless of ideology, conservative or liberal, who has ever examined these issues in a serious way will tell you that instances of significant voter fraud are not to be found.
Still doubling down on his claims that this election is rigged, that there's widespread voter fraud, even blasting Republican leaders who are denying his allegations of large-scale voter fraud. So we had CNN and our fact-checking team take a long look at these allegations. Drew Griffin is the guy to do it. Our CNN senior investigative correspondent joins me now. I mean, the president today said this is unprecedented, what Trump's been saying, that it's based on no facts. What did you find?
We took a reality check on this whole thing, and what we did was we found actual cases of voter fraud occur, but are extremely rare. They have not been proven to be part of any vast conspiracy or attempt to rig an election, and several Republican officials I've talked to, from Florida to Philadelphia to out west, believe this attempt to smear an election's validity is wrong and without factual basis.
Now, it is officially nonpartisan, but this group works hard to register low-income voters who tend to vote for Democrats. ACORN's under fire over allegedly phony voter registration in several states, and Drew Griffin of CNN Special Investigations Unit is digging into this for us. You'll be pretty surprised by what he found.
There are 5,000 of them.
These?
These,
those, and these.
They are new voter registration applications turned in by the community organizing group ACORN, which has launched a massive voter registration drive. And with 5,000 applications in this one county dumped on just before the October 6th deadline, it looked to Elections Board Administrator Ruth Ann Hoagland like ACORN was extremely successful until her workers began finding problems.
A lot of them?
50%. We had close to 5,000 total from ACORN, and so far we have identified about 2,100.
So roughly half of them
Roughly half.
are bad.
Correct.
Registered to a dead person, registered as a person who lives at a fast food
Yes.
shop,
Yes.
or just all of them amazingly in the same hand.
Yes. Yes. All the signatures look exactly the same. Everything on the card filled out looks just the same.
Ruth Ann, fraud?
We have no idea what the motive behind it is. It's just overwhelming to us.
It's not that some are bad. Once they started going through them, every one they looked at was bad.
Right. We've run into a lot of the same. We'll go through 10 cards, and in the exact same hand, the card is filled out the same, the signature is the same. We'll make telephone calls, and every phone has been disconnected.
Hoagland decided to stop the review altogether, work on other apparently legitimate registrations, and get back to the other half of what she now calls the fake pile later.
It's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Here's another ACORN filled out registration form. It's for Jimmy Johns, 10839 Broadway in Crown Point. Jimmy Johns. We decided to track him down. Here he is. Is there anybody here that's actually named Jimmy Johns? Nobody registered to vote here named Jimmy Johns? This could really... I mean, there's been no fraud yet because people haven't voted yet, right?
Correct. We'll find out on Election Day.
But it certainly sets up a potential.
The potential, I suppose, is always there. It's just that the volume. The volume is just incredible.
The Elections Board is run by both Republicans and Democrats.
Regardless of whose party, you've got a problem with these ballots, these registrations.
Both sides, Democrats and Republicans. For us, it's unfortunate. ACORN, with its intent, perhaps, was good to begin with, but unfortunately went awry somewhere.
It is fraud, says the Democrat director, Sally Lasota.
Well, if you look, it's the same for all three voters. It's as though the one individual did three separate applications, but put, you can tell the signature. We're not handwriting experts, but what's obvious is obvious.
ACORN's voter registration drives are under investigation or suspicion in several states. Just yesterday, local authorities raided this ACORN office in Las Vegas, where ACORN workers allegedly registered members of the Dallas Cowboys football team. Over the last 4 years, a dozen states investigated complaints of fraudulent registrations filed by ACORN, and complaints of fraud by ACORN have exploded nationwide in just the last few weeks. We tried to contact the ACORN director in Gary, Indiana, but when the phone messages went unanswered, we went to the office. It's abandoned. ACORN told us the state director for Indiana ACORN is actually based in this office in Milwaukee, but today we found it empty too. ACORN's attorney in Boston told us allegations his organization has committed fraud is a government attempt to keep the disenfranchised from voting.
We believe their purpose is to attack ACORN and encourage and suppress votes. We think that by attacking ACORN, that they are going to discourage people who may have registered with ACORN from voting.
Brian Meller says ACORN has its own quality control, has fired workers in the past, including workers in Gary. Despite its past, the Obama campaign gave $800,000 to ACORN to help fund its primary registration drive, and ACORN has endorsed Barack Obama for president. The Obama campaign reacted this afternoon saying it is committed to protecting the integrity of the voting process and said it has not worked with ACORN during the general election.
Drew Griffin, though, the campaign, or Obama rather, has worked with ACORN, though, in the past. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. As an attorney, he represented ACORN in a motor voter court case, which, by the way, Barack Obama won for ACORN. But all afternoon long, the campaign has been calling us trying to distance themselves from ACORN.
All right, Drew Griffin for us tonight. Drew, as always, thanks. Coming up, for those who say...
And a developing story that could affect your voter registration. Just hours ago, Indiana State Police raided the offices of Indiana Voter Registration Project on North Meridian. State Police tell us today that they are expanding their investigation of their fraudulent voter applications from 2 counties to 9. Police say their investigation has uncovered changed voter registration forms and are a combination of made-up names and made-up addresses, real names with incorrect addresses, and false dates of birth with real names. Police say this could cause voters to be turned away on Election Day because their registration does not match who they are or where they live.
And the implications are, if something as simple as your address gets changed, when you go to vote on Election Day, you will not be registered to vote in that precinct. And so you'll either have to find what precinct you are, which then will be voter fraud because you'll be voting somewhere you don't live. And so there's a lot of possible implications here that people need to be aware of.
And right now, state police want you to check your registration. You can head over to indianavoters.com to do that. You have to do it by October 10th to make sure you are correctly registered to vote.
Are the electronic voting machines used across the country vulnerable to hacking? One professor decided to find out for himself.
That's right. Joining us right now, Princeton University professor Ed Felton with a demonstration from his study. Good morning to you, Ed.
Good morning.
Also, right over there across the studio, you've got the 2 kids from Princeton who actually did this work, Ari and Alex. Now, tell us, 5% of the country votes with machines like this, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you are able to hack into it in 10 seconds.
It takes only a few seconds to insert a computer virus into this voting machine.
But how technologically savvy do you have to be a hacker to do this? I mean,
you have to be able to write computer programs,
yep.
Which a lot of people can do.
Sure.
You need to be able to open up this door on the side, which anybody can do, and that's about it.
All right, let's see how it works.
Yeah, you want to show me, if I'm voting, what happens, how it goes wrong, you say?
So we have set this machine up. We've infected it with our virus in advance.
Okay.
And we're running a simulated election here between George Washington and Benedict Arnold.
I think I know who I'll vote for.
All right.
Go ahead, pop it in.
I'm on your side.
For you.
Okay.
And just wait a second.
So when I go to vote at an electronic voting machine, it looks similar. It's just like this.
Just like this.
5% of the country.
Okay, so I say start.
Yes.
Yep, I want George Washington.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, now I do next.
Next.
All right.
And cast ballot.
And I see that has registered my vote correctly.
Right.
George Washington, I'd like to cast my ballot. Very simple.
All right, now I'm going to vote.
Just a minute.
All right, so every person gets a different voter access card, right? All right.
It takes a minute.
And loading base. All right, start. I'm voting for George Washington. Okay, cast ballot.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm going to cast a third vote, also for George Washington.
All right. Well, we're going to watch just to make sure.
All right. Watch very carefully.
Loading ballot. You're starting. You're voting for George Washington. Okay, good enough. And then you cast your ballot.
So there should be 3 votes for George Washington.
3 votes for George
What
Washington.
are we going to see?
But because you have infected this machine with a virus, perhaps George Washington will not be the winner.
Perhaps right.
All right, so now you're putting in the
I'm putting the
supervisor card.
supervisor card. Now it's the end of election day, and
Time
I'm
to
the
count
election
the
worker.
votes.
We're going to count the votes.
Yep.
All right, very good.
So I stick this in,
Yeah.
and it takes a minute. I need to put in the highly secret pin, 1111.
Okay, there you go.
I think you just accidentally said that out loud. Okay.
Okay, ballot station.
Not secret anymore. I'm going to end the election.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay with me.
Yep.
Okay.
And now I'm going to print the results on this printer.
Okay,
over here.
quickly, very quickly.
Yes. And the results will come out. So here's what happened.
Yeah.
Inside the machine, it was keeping an electronic record of every vote.
Right.
3 votes for George. But the computer virus went and switched the votes inside the computer's memory.
right.
And when you see this result, what you see, look at the tape right here.
Hold it right there, very carefully.
1 vote for George Washington and 2 for Benedict
So
Arnold.
you're saying
my
that hackers would have had to have done this before people voted. They would have had to have infected it with a virus,
Wow.
and then it skews the results.
Before election day?
Oh, my goodness.
Anytime before election day.
Ed Felton, professor of computer science at Princeton, we thank you very much. By the way, when we come back, we're going to read the statement from Diebold. They say, the maker of this, they say, flawed information.
You saw it working.
And we
Mr. Curtis, would you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Clinton Eugene Curtis,
And where do you reside?
Tallahassee, Florida.
And what is your profession?
I'm a computer programmer.
Would you please speak into the microphone so the audience can hear your testimony?
I'm a computer programmer.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes,
How do you know that to be the case?
because in October of 2000, I wrote a prototype for President Congressman Tom Feeney at the company I work for in Oviedo, Florida, that did just that.
And when you say did just that, it would rig an election?
It would flip the vote 51-49 to whoever you wanted it to go to and whichever race you wanted to win.
And would that program that you designed be something that elections officials that might be on county boards of elections could detect?
They'd never see it.
Mr. Would you answer that question once again?
They would never see it.
So how would such a program, a secret program that fixes the election, how could it be detected?
You would have to view it either in the source code, or you'd have to have a receipt and then count the hard paper against the actual vote total. Other than that, you won't see it.
All right, Mr. Curtis, if you had been asked, you or others with your professional expertise had been asked to design a protective program that would protect the Ohio elections from against such software to fix the election, could you have done so?
If we've been asked to make a program that can fix the election, sure, anybody can do it.
No, could you have designed a program or a procedure or a protocol that would have protected Ohio against this kind of rigging?
No, you have to look at the source code. You have to get probably programmers from both or all parties to look at the source code and determine if there's anything in there that shouldn't be there. I mean, it's a simple program. You're adding 1 to a person's total. It's 100 lines of code tops.
All right, are you aware of whether there was any protective action in Ohio against this kind of vote rigging through software?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
You were not asked to assist in the development of any protective system, is that correct?
No, I was not.
In Europe, have you reviewed at all the election results in Ohio?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Given the availability of such vote rigging software and the testimony that has been given under oath of substantial statistical anomalies and gross differences between exit polling data and the actual tabulated results, do you have an opinion whether or not the Ohio election, presidential election, was hacked?
Yes, I would say it was. I mean, if you have exit polling data that is significantly off from the vote, then it's probably hacked.
And your testimony is under oath?
Yes, sir.
And the testimony you've given is true?
Yes, sir.
You could fuck your mother in front of the governor and not go to jail.
Multiple overall. And yeah, for me as an attorney, I get this is illegal. This is something like that.
And I assume you don't go off and tell these conversations to anybody.
No.
Because this is
no, absolutely. So
yeah, voter
No.
However, other people can make things happen that you don't need to know about. We talk about lots of things that we don't talk about.
You know what? We've been busting people in to deep fucking asshole for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. They'll do whatever you want. Yeah. They're rock and roll.
So I'm basically Deputy Rapid Response Director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground. Nobody's really supposed to know about me.
No, I'm saying, we have mentally ill people that we pay to do shit. Make no mistake.
This guy named Cesar Vargas is his name.
I got a priest to cry on camera once.
You know, Brad and Bob and Lux and myself are all part of the old school method where it doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
So Bob is really good friends with him, and talked to him this afternoon. And they are all in. If we can get 25 grand, they're all in.
Our investigators wanted to find out what it would take to get the highest favorable turnout. Democratic politico Scott Fovel was our target, and he was more than willing to lead us through the process of how to rig an election.
We did to them when we were in charge too. So what did we do? We did the exact same thing. Only we manipulated the vote with money and action, not with laws. It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in to deep fucking asshole for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it. So, I mean, I grew up with that idea. You know, they used to bus people out to Iowa. If we needed people out there, we used to bus people out to Iowa.
When we met Scott Fovel, he worked for People for the American Way, an organization funded in large part by George Soros. He now works for Americans United for Change. It's a nonprofit that claims to, quote, move America in a new, better direction, unquote. With guys like Fovel working for them, we wonder what direction that might be.
When I do this, I think you're an investigator first.
Good, yeah, work backwards, yes. Yeah, that's great.
I used to do the investigation.
Yeah.
Different method. I think backwards from how they would prosecute if they could, and then try to build out the method to avoid that.
The plan that was discussed was how to bring people from one state into another state to vote illegally.
They could invalidate. Well, okay, let's just say in theory, if a major investigation came up of major vote fraud that way, how would they prove it and who would they charge? Are they going to charge each individual? Oh, sorry. Are they going to charge each individual with voter fraud?
See, that's what I'm saying.
Are they going to go after the facilitator for conspiracy, which they could prove? And it's one thing if all these people drive up in their personal cars. There's a bus involved? That changes the dynamic. So it's the legality. Well, yeah. Because you can prove conspiracy if there's a bus.
Yeah.
If there are cars, it's much harder to prove.
And there's enough money.
If there's enough money, then you have people drive their POV.
Absolutely.
Or you have them drive rentals.
Yeah, with Wisconsin license plates. Absolutely.
Well, you can't have them with Wisconsin license plates because rentals here, most of them don't have Wisconsin license plates.
Oh.
But there's these things called used car auctions. Used car auctions, the titles belong to some unknown company. They're company cars.
And you know, these are multiple employers. These are not all one employer.
Use shell companies.
Yeah.
Cars come from one company, the paychecks come from another. There's no bus involved, so you can't prove that it's en masse.
There you go.
So it doesn't tip people off.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
See, okay, yeah. So now I'm starting to see that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
When I do this, I think you're an investigator first.
Good. Yeah. Work backwards. Yes. Yeah, that's great.
I used to do the investigation.
Yeah.
Different method. I think backwards from how they would prosecute if they could, and then try to build out the method to avoid that.
So
okay, so you're saying shell companies, you're saying the car,
if the car rental has a Wisconsin license plate and is owned by a third entity, then it's much harder to prove that these people drove in from out of state. There's no bus involved, so you can't prove conspiracy.
and they would have to be looking for them in the first place.
Oh, a bus is something that you're not, that you're not looking for, or that you are looking for.
Yeah.
A car.
Our journalist helped brainstorm with Fovel on how to come up with addresses for their phony voters.
Now, if we just have the canvassers logging the homes, they don't even have to. They don't even have to know why they're doing.
Put a mark on it
and say this address. You know, we have moved, but moved could mean someone else moved in.
You take that data and you flip it out and you give it to people and you have people go voting. That's brilliant. I love it.
So yeah, and you know, it sort of depends upon how how much the canvassers don't have to know why they just need to be told to do. Yeah.
In fact, you don't want them to know.
Right.
The question is whether when you get caught by a reporter, does that matter? Because does it turn into an investigation or not? In this case, in this state, the answer is no. Because they don't have any power to do anything.
Right. So this is sort of maybe not stuff for the general, but stuff to maybe hold off until.
No, I think you could do it for the general. You have to do it in multiple states.
Okay.
So what you do is you implement the plan on a much bigger scale. You implement a massive change in state legislatures and in Congress. So you aim higher for your goals, and then you implement it across every Republican-held state.
I'll let you know what goes with.
Trump still doubling down on his claims that this election is rigged, that there's widespread voter fraud, even blasting Republican leaders who are denying his allegations of large-scale voter fraud. So we had CNN and our fact-checking team take a long look at these allegations. Drew Griffin is the guy to do it. Our CNN senior investigative correspondent joins me now. I mean, the president today said this is unprecedented, what Trump's been saying, that it's based on no facts. What did you find?
We took a reality check on. We couldn't find any evidence of that as well.
Okay. Thank you for checking. Facts are important. We talk about this election, Drew Griffin. Thank you. Trump's rigged election claims also.
So this is sort of maybe not stuff for the general, but stuff to maybe hold off until.
No, I think you could do it for the general. You have to do it in multiple states.
Okay.
So what you do is you implement the plan on a much bigger scale. You implement a massive change in state legislatures and in Congress. So you aim higher for your goals, and then you implement it across every Republican-held state.
I'll let you know what goes with.